So I finally got my Skoolie back. It's been, I think, about a month since I took it in for service. I told them that they could take their time because I was doing tons of overtime anyways and I wouldn't really be able to use it. But it's done now. So for those of you who follow this channel, you know that when I took it in, it just needed an oil change and it was leaking what I thought was oil. I was called shortly after I took it in and they said that that wasn't a massive oil leak, that was a massive fuel leak. The diesel was just running down and collecting all kinds of grime. It looks like it was, it just looked like oil draining down off the back of the engine block. So they said it would take a little while to investigate. It was obviously coming from the top end of the engine. On the E350s, just because it has a van body, the top end of the engine is kind of buried. You have to take off a bunch of air intake stuff just to get to the area where the fuel leaks even could be. Fortunately, the fuel system isn't super complicated on this thing. So they did that. It cost them, I think, 3-4 hours of labor. So that was, let's see, $200 in labor. And that was just for diagnosing the fuel leak and just figuring out where it was leaking from. Looks like at first they thought it was the fuel filter that was leaking. It turned out not to be that. It was just the fuel pressure sensor. Easy fix, and it costs like $100 for the part. And then, of course, once they fixed that, they verified no more leaks, put it back together. So that was another, I think it was a little bit more to put it back together again. So that was, yeah, $270 to put it back together. Part of that, there's the doghouse on the inside of the van doesn't come off as easily as it should. So after they fixed it, they wanted to just double check and take off the doghouse, and that just wasted a bunch of time, basically. So it was a little bit more expensive putting it back together again. But once they got it back together, runs fine, just needed an oil change. And so for all of that, let me explain how much it cost. So just diagnosing that massive fuel leak, my total came to $625 just for that. The oil change, remember this is a 7.3 Power Stroke, and it has 15 quarts of oil. That came to $176.46, so $176 for that. So that sounds really bad, but remember this is a 7.3 Power Stroke, and you don't have to change the oil as often as you would in a regular gas engine. So my total bill with taxes and everything came to $870. And so that sounds like it's a enormous amount of money to be spending on repairs, and I guess it is a lot of money, but when you consider that I'm doing this instead of paying rent, it seems like every time I take this bus in, about every 6 months, I have to spend about $1,000, maybe a little bit less, somewhere between $800 and $1,000 every 6 months, but around here, I would be paying that every month in rent. So yes, the repairs were expensive, but it's still a small fraction of what I would be paying for rent in comparison. They did find a couple of other things that are starting to go wrong. Some of them I actually did kind of know about these problems. So my left upper ball joint is starting to go. Since I don't drive this huge amounts, I usually just drive it one way somewhere and then just park it for a while. It'll probably wait until next oil change. I'm not sure. It's just barely starting to go, and I can hear it on really, really rough roads, but I don't usually take it on that rough roads, so I'm just going to leave that for now. And then I have a wheel bearing, which is just barely starting to go out as well. Again, just because of the way I'm using it at the moment, I'm going to leave that as it is for now. And we'll just keep an eye on it. I thought I could hear it slightly a couple of times. It's hard to tell the difference between that and, it's a bus, so it has a fair amount of road noise from the tires anyways. But I think that is actually the bearing that I was hearing. It's not very loud, so I'll keep my ear out, I guess, for that one. I'll listen to see if there's any problem. And the final problems, not really so much problems. My coolant, they were recommending flushing it. I don't really know how old that coolant is, so it's something I've been wanting to do anyways. I was hoping I could actually do it this time when I took it in, but no, it didn't work out this time. It's not that expensive, so I'll probably do it next time. And then same with the brake fluid. It looks like it's probably okay, but We don't know how old it is. We don't know anything about the history here. So we'll probably change that out next time. Again, not super expensive, and it seems like a fairly easy thing to do. The labor doesn't cost that much for that. Um, Even the ball joints and the wheel bearing, just not that expensive on this bus. So the last thing, which is going to be quite expensive, and I've been planning for this for some time, is I'm going to need some new tires fairly soon. My rear tires, they noticed that they're getting close to the wear mark, which is, they've been close to the wear mark since I bought the bus. I'm usually pretty easy on my vehicles, and I don't, and my tires tend to last a long time anyways. So I'll keep it for now. We'll see, maybe in a month or two, I might swap out the tires. And if I do that, I'll probably have them work on the wheel bearing and the ball joint at the same time. And because I don't want any alignment issues or any weirdness going on in the suspension once I put new tires on, because that can kind of mess up your tires. Well, that's it for today. I'm just getting things cleaned up, and I have an interview in a couple hours. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.